Consistently coming up with ideas for YouTube videos can be very, very challenging. Thankfully, I know someone who's pretty good at it. International superstar, bodybuilder, acrobat, powerlifter, and America's Got Talent contestant,
Juji.
But if only there was some way that I could actually meet him.
Hey Brian, why are you here? It's not this weekend. It's like not this month.
Okay, that's not the important question. Come on, we got more important things to talk about. Come on. We gotta teach the people something. All right. Here's the thing that we're trying to teach them. All right. Wait, no, that's.
Where am I?
Is a little bit of a loop that both me and Juji use to come up with new ideas, because it is quite often hard to come up with brand new ideas for YouTube. So let's go along with the circle real quick, right? Intake, info. This is all about reading books. I know, scary, but intaking info from video and audio sources, notating, basically writing all that stuff down so you could have it someplace that you can reference it. Recreation, like relaxing things, you know? Judy, what do you do to relax?
Actually, that's a good question.
I mean, I guess you could like...
I work out.
I guess you could work out.
Recreation time is basically anything where your brain isn't like actively like wrestling with something.
Okay, and then the actual last step, guys, you do have to create stuff. You have to actually go out and make it. The actual first step is that we do need to intake some information.
Open my book of answers to the page. It says you'll regret it right after I asked for the 25-pound.
We should have started with a lighter way. But it is actually important to intake information as your first step. As they say, you cannot create something from nothing. You're gathering sources to start to create something new.
Yeah, and related issues may surface. No, seriously, that's the whole point of intaking information, is so that you let it percolate and stir up in your brain when you're recreating later after you write down some ideas.
You prefer to watch videos or listen to stuff? Or
combination.
Especially video, like you have to be careful to not endlessly scroll and just like just watch it for watching's sake.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, exactly. Then you should read a book while curling. All right.
Instead of just passively watching the videos, it's important to learn.
You know what I like a lot more than materialistic things?
Knowledge.
Scary as it is, you actually have to write down stuff while you're reading. And I don't have a free hand to write anything down here. There you go.
You really don't. I don't have a free hand either. It is one thing to study war and another to live the warrior's life. Hey, no, that's actually a good page you opened up to. Everything's related to this. It's one thing to what was it again? We're going to move on from passively watching videos to actively studying videos to actually living the creator's life, right?
Yeah. Even when you're listening to stuff, if you want to learn new things, like say you're listening to like a lot of podcasts, right? Especially if it's like a science-based thing. It's good to write down takeaways from it, either while you're listening to it or directly after, so that you remember it gooder. Scientific. but it's good to write those things down when it's fresh in your mind with like a good note-taking app, so that you can reference those notes later and come up with new ideas from them. It is also good to think about your outside influences. One of the things that I like to do is video games. Like, I know, very unique and popular thing to do in your off time, but a lot of the video game branding that you've seen in Juji videos do come from a lot of the like video game style and design that I really like, and it's something fun that gets added to the video that's sort of outside fitness.
I'm influenced by all the celebrity boxing matches.
He's robbing him! Matt's hurt! Oh!
My references are quite outdated, but for the people that grew up in the same time period, they love it. Any old school game is good for music.
Big on Final Fantasy.
NES.
Big
SNES.
Oh my god. So anything from like the Super NES or NES, then you'll probably know it.
Yeah.
And if it's anything later, probably not.
Anything past PlayStation 2 is kind of pushing it.
You never know where your outside influences will come from. So don't keep it to just video games too. Like there's architecture, there's art, I mean, there's poetry. There are so many different ways that you can be inspired. So intake all kinds of different information while you're researching things about videos.
Mm-hmm.
The next step is to do notation, and make sure that you always do not read off of a direct prompt script that you've written for yourself. I hate this keyboard, John.
No way, the buckling springs.
The buckling
keyboard
springs, this thing is
best.
actually the worst, guys. Okay, but the next step is that you do want to write it down somewhere in some kind of note-taking app. I really like Notion. That's just what I happen to use because it is organized very, very well. Here's some amazing B-roll, Brian, of the actual Notion in action. Wow. But you can have a bunch of different templates, and it can do a bunch of different kinds of things. I'm a big fan of Notion. What you don't use Notion, though, do you?
I tried Notion. It was too complicated for me, honestly.
I tried to convert them, guys.
I tried. I watched all the videos and stuff. It was just a little bit too much setup. I use a mixture of Google Keep, spreadsheets, and Scrivener, which is an outlining app for writing.
Okay.
So it helps me outline my book. So I use a mixture of those three things and a little bit of analog, but I usually try to get my analog to digital.
That's what we have the whiteboard for, actually. So, a good mixture of things. A good mixture of things is having something that's analog and having something that's digital. It is super good to have both because do you ever find that your brain thinks differently when you're actually writing stuff down, physically?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Brain wiring.
Yeah. And then the digital copy is so that you have something to look back on later so that you can search it.
Search!
We've already had this problem today, guys.
I complicated the problem. So the thing is that I had a note that was a Google Keep note. I moved it to a polished digital, and then I printed it out as an analog to use as a script and deleted the digital for some reason and threw away the analog. So now I don't know what the script was, so I have to do it all again.
So, if you write stuff down that's physical, you have to actually keep it somewhere digital. But it is important to actually, when you're going from intaking information and having ideas of things that you want to keep, you got to put it somewhere that you can reference later. Get on to recreation, because that's the fun part.
Well, also, before we go to recreation.
Oh, yeah. You had to emphasize it?
Oh, yeah, look at the word.
Yeah, we'll emphasize this. What is this?
This is recreation, Brian.
Is that where you do things that are fun?
Yeah.
Where things that you don't have to use your brain for?
Yeah.
Things where you can make connections with unrelated ideas in your brain because of diffuse thinking?
Yeah.
Wait, you're supposed to walk this way. That wasn't in the script. Hold on. There we go.
RTFM, Brian.
There you go. After you have ingested and notated all this information, it's important to just have some fun.
Yes, and catch your breath.
It is good to have a little bit of outside activity where you're just not actively working all the time. We do a lot of stuff doing video work, a lot of planning and a lot of writing and a lot of stuff that, doesn't ever make it to a final video.
Correct.
But it's good to take time off of those things so that we can actually think of new ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll have a lot of ideas when you go for walks or when you exercise or do anything like that. You'll have ideas that happen while you do those things. You got to be diligent and disciplined to write them down. A lot of people have ideas when they get in the shower. I don't.
Shower
but a lot of people
thoughts.
do. I get a lot of ideas when I'm driving, especially the first 20 minutes of a drive.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to turn on podcasts or music. Just try first 20 minutes with just music instead of a podcast.
In my off time, I like to pretend that I'm sawing wood. This is not my actual this is not my actual leisure activity. A lot like John, I also like to walk around, and that's how I come up with a lot of my ideas, where now I've already read a bunch of stuff, I've listened to a bunch of things, and I have written it down, and then I have to go for a little walk so that it gives space for your brain to not connect just the things that you already know, but I called it diffuse thinking earlier, which is basically where you start to connect ideas that are seemingly unconnected to come up with brand new stuff, for instance. Like woodworking. Yeah. And also swing sets, which aren't exactly connected. Like fighting off the forces of evil with your wood saw. So you've watched all the videos that you can, you've written down the important ideas, and you've done a little bit of recreation, you had some fun, walked around, and you've come up with your new ideas. But this whole process, it's not a magic 8-ball, and you concentrate and ask again. But the actual magical last step is that you need to go and record it. You need to go and create now. Actually, we should probably go ahead and start creating right now. And the last important step, you actually have to go and create your idea. What are you drawing?
I'm so creative. I'm drawing a skull.
Oh.
And you've never seen it before with a loaded barbell as the crossbones. Instead, it's so original.
Oh, very original of you.
Wow, I thought of something no one else has ever thought of.
You do actually have to go and execute on your ideas. I know it's very entrepreneurial advice, right? Like, just go and do your thing.
Do it! Just do it!
If you have all these ideas and you don't ever go and actually try them, you have no idea if they're gonna work.
I think a big part of the process in creating is actually being creative in ways to get yourself to create.
Perfect example is today. It's like we do have Instagram videos to shoot today. This is not our only thing we're doing today, but we needed a little something to like get going essentially. So it's like, oh, we'll just start a normal video and then we'll roll into other stuff later.
Yeah.
And I do think it's also important to try out your ideas, because sometimes, I'm sure you've felt this before, but sometimes you think you'll have a great idea. Like, I have a super funny idea for an Instagram video, and it turns out to be not very good.
Well, yeah, also the thing is, like, if you hold on to an idea for too long, and then when you finally go and try it and it doesn't work out, like you thought about that for 3 months as your idea, and it's like, oh, that didn't work out. It's kind of like when people are like, hey, why don't you just ask her or him, to go out on a date. That way, sooner rather than later, you don't have to sit there and have a crush on them for half a year and find out they're not interested.
Whoa, John, this is the internet, all right? We can't.
I'm sorry, I'm just saying. Like,
talking to people is scary.
it is scary, but so is creating sometimes. You got to be yourself.
Is that the YouTube logo?
Yeah, because just off camera, you're trying to draw it.
No,
this was like, Brian's YouTube logo. Look like a deek. You lost marker privileges.
It's like a point. You did it. You're doing it all wrong now.
No, this is it.
I was drawing this. I was drawing the inside part.
That's the only part you drew.
Making videos with your friends is totally fun, but it can be a little difficult sometimes. But thankfully, subscribing to the channel is pretty easy.
That's a good looking like button.
That looks
That's
great.
how you draw a like button or a subscribe button. Damn it!